Hello friends, welcome to Literary Concepts. So in my previous videos, I brought to you the different ages and the different periods of English literature. So from today onwards, so I'm bringing to you about a new topic and the new concept, the fundamentals about the literary criticism. So today's topic is introduction to literary criticism. Now let us try to understand the concept of literary criticism. So what is literary criticism? So literary criticism is a study, analysis, and interpretation and evaluation of literature. So it studies so literary criticism. So through literary criticism, we study and analysis, we analyze and we interpret and evaluate literature. Understand? So it involves literary criticism, helps us to understand the literary texts. So it helps us to understand literary texts, and as well as we can also pass judging, so the artistic, philosophical, moral, and cultural value of a particular text or literature. Understand? So literary criticism helps us to understand a particular literary work, and then we judge, we pass the judgment about artistic and philosophical and moral and cultural values of a particular text. Understand? So the literary criticism helps the reader to grasp the deeper meanings of a literary work. So it helps the reader to understand the inner meanings of a literary work. And also it understands, okay, it helps us to understand its context and form. So the context of a literary text and the structure and design, okay, the format of a literary work, we understand better. And then it also helps us to appreciate the craft of the author. So literary criticism helps us to appreciate so the skill, the talent of the author. And at the same time, the literary criticism also helps the reader to explore different interpretations and viewpoints. Understand? So we explore the different interpretations, the different explanations, and the different perspectives, the point of views of the literary text. So now let us try to understand the importance of literary criticism. So it deepens understanding of literary text, literary criticism. So deepens, so it makes us to understand the depth of the literary text. Understand? And then literary criticism promotes analytical and critical thinking among the reader. Okay, so it promotes that analyzing skills, analytical skills, and critical skills, critical thinking skills. So it improves among the reader. So the literary criticism encourages a dialogue between literature and society. Understand? So it encourages the relationship between, understand, the interchange, so interconnectedness between the literature and the society. And then uh, literary criticism offers multiple lenses through which to explore literature. So we can also understand the multiple meanings. Okay, therefore, we explore the literature from multiple perspectives. Understand? So, these are the importance of the literary criticism. Now, let us try to understand the objectives of literary criticism. So, the first objective is so it analyzes the content, style, structure of a work. So through literary criticism, what is that we do? So analyzing the content, that is a matter, the subject matter, okay, the text, and then it's a style of writing and the structure. So that is the formation, understand the pattern of a work, the written pattern of a work. And the second one is to interpret symbolic, thematic, and contextual elements. So it helps us to interpret the symbolic meaning of a text and the different themes, the thematics, understand the themes and the contextual elements. Okay, in different context, whatever the contextual elements are there in the work, so we interpret them, we understand them better. And the next point is it helps us to evaluate the aesthetic quality and effectiveness of a text. Okay, the beauty of the text, the aesthetic quality. So at the same time, the effectiveness of a text we evaluate by learning literary criticism. And the next one is it connects the literature with. So literary criticism brings out the connection of literature with the philosophy, politics, society, and psychology, etc. Understand? So it connects literature with the different subjects like philosophy, politics, society, and psychology. Understand? And the next point is it guides the reader, okay, in understanding complex texts, in understanding the difficult literary works. So it guides the reader to decode it, understand. So next, let us learn about the functions of a literary criticism. Understand? So, the functions, how we use it, literary criticism, in which context we use. The first function is educational. In the educational sector, so it helps us students and readers to develop interpretive skills. Okay, interpretation skills will be developed by learning literary criticism. So it helps the students and readers to improve their interpretive skills. The second function is cultural. So it reflects, literary criticism reflects and critiques cultural norms and values. Okay, it reflects about the cultural norms and values. At the same time, it criticizes the cultural norms, the cultural standards, understand the values, the which are reflected in the society. Okay, which are prevailing in the society. The next function is creative. Understand, literary criticism inspires new interpretation and creative works. So it brings out the unfold things. Understand, the new interpretations, the new way of understanding literary text. Therefore, it improves that creative thinking, okay, and the creative works also. It helps us to write, understand. And the last function is ethical, understand the moral things. So it engages with the moral and philosophical questions. Literary criticism engages with moral and philosophical questions. Now, let us try to understand major types of literary criticisms. Okay, major type of literary criticism. The first one is formalism. So it is also known as new criticism. So which focuses the key idea of the theme of the formalism or new criticism is focusing on the text itself. So focusing on the text structure, language, imagery, and symbols. So that is the first type of literary criticism, formalism or new criticism. The second one is Marxist criticism. Okay, Marxist criticism focuses on class struggle, ideology, economic conditions. So on these aspects, so Marxist criticism focuses. And the third one is a psychoanalytical criticism. So psychoanalytical criticism focuses on unconscious desires, repressions, okay, that is suppressions and Freudian theory. Then the next one is feminist criticism. Feminist criticism, okay, focuses on gender roles, so patriarchy, so that is male dominated society, and representation of women in literary works. So these are the aspects which we find in feminist criticism. And the next type is post colonial criticism. So in post colonial criticism we find the themes like colonialism, identity, power dynamics between the West and the others, the power changes, understand. So between the Western countries and the other countries, understand. So the next type of criticism is structuralism. So structuralism focuses on underlying structures and language systems. The next type is deconstruction. So deconstruction focuses on meaning is unstable. Meaning is it is unstable. So there is no constant meaning. Understand? So binary oppositions are questioned. So two oppositions, binary means two related to two things. Oppositions are questioned. The next criticism is the next type of criticism is reader response criticism. So here it deals with the reader's role in creating meaning. So it focuses on the reader's role in creating meaning. The next one is new historicism, so which focuses on cultural and historical context, historical aspects. And the one more type is eco-criticism, so which focuses on relationship between literature and the environment. These are the prominent types of literary criticism. Okay, now let us try to understand famous literary critics and their contributions. Understand? So Aristotle. So Aristotle wrote Poetics. So that poetics deals with the concept of a tragedy, catharsis, unity of action. So these uh, concepts, these themes are discussed in Aristotle's Poetics. The next critic is Longinus, who wrote the key work, okay, on the sublime, so which deals with the greatness in literature. Understand? The key idea discussed in on the sublime is greatness in literature. The next critic is Matthew Arnold, so whose work is titled as The Function of Criticism, so which focuses on the literature as a moral guide. Understand? Literature as a moral guide. One more critic, very popular in the modern times, that is T.S. Eliot, so who wrote Tradition and Individual Talent, so which focuses on impersonality of poetry. And one more critic, Northrop Frye, so whose key concept is on the archetypal criticism. Key concept is archetypal criticism. The next critic is Harold Bloom, so whose work, The Anxiety of Influence, okay, focuses on how poets influence one another. Understand how poets influence one another. The next critic is Ellen Showalter, so who is famous, okay, who contributed to the feminist criticism and particularly gynocriticism. Understand? The next critic is Edward Said, who wrote Orientalism. Okay, the work Orientalism, so which focuses on post-colonial theory. And the next critic is Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes, who wrote The Death of the Author, which focuses on post-structuralist reading. And the next critic is Kenneth Brooks, so who is famous for his close reading, neo-criticism. So these are the some important critics and their key ideas. So which we are going to learn in the upcoming videos. I hope that you understand this basic concept about introduction to literary criticism. If you find this content and the video is useful, then please like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.